All right, today we're going to talk about a war. But this isn't a war that lasts a few years or even a few decades. We're talking about a conflict that has been raging for over 100 million years on a scale that is almost impossible to imagine. This is the World War of the Ants. And no, this isn't some sci-fi movie. This is real, and it's happening all around us, right under our feet. From the deepest rainforests to the little cracks in the pavement you walk on every single day. But okay, before we can really dive into the battles, we have to understand who's fighting. And to do that, you need to grasp just how unbelievably successful ants are. I mean, they are, without a doubt, one of the most dominant forms of life on this planet. Let's just try to wrap our heads around that number for a second. 10,000 trillion. To put that in perspective, for every single human being alive right now, there are well over 1 million ants. The sheer number of them is just staggering. And it's not just about how many of them there are, it's about their weight, their mass. So imagine you could take all the land animals on Earth and put them on a giant cosmic scale. Well, ants alone would make up a full 20% of that total weight. It's just an incredible testament to how well they've done. So what's their secret? How did they get so dominant? Well, it's kind of like looking in a weird mirror for humanity. Their success comes from incredible collaboration. They build these massive, complex cities, they farm fungi, they even raise other insects as livestock. But just like us, a state of constant, brutal warfare is just woven into the very fabric of who they are. And that warfare brings us to our first major player in this global conflict, the army ant. And this isn't just one type of ant, It's a whole group of about 200 different species that are basically a living, breathing swarm designed for one thing: war. So the first thing you have to get about army ants is they're totally different. They don't build permanent nests. There's no fortress to go back to, no home base to defend. Instead, they are the home. They live this completely nomadic life. They are a constantly moving, living bivouac made of millions of their own bodies, all linked together. Their entire existence is just the march and the hunt. And that hunt, oh man, it is terrifyingly efficient. On their marches, some of these species form columns that can be 100 meters long, and the biggest hunting parties can kill and tear apart up to 500,000 animals in one day. Anything that can't run or fly away, insects, spiders, even small lizards, is just consumed. But here's the fascinating part. In individual army ants, honestly, it's not that impressive on its own. Their real power, their entire military doctrine, is just overwhelming force. They win by literally drowning their enemies in a tide of bodies before any real defense can even get started. So, when you're faced with this relentless, destructive force, what do? Well, other ant species have had to evolve some truly ingenious, mind-blowing strategies just to survive. Because let's be real, when the swarm is coming, you can't just fight back the normal way. I mean, really, think about it. How do you survive a living tide of death? When fighting head-on is basically suicide, you've got to get creative. For a lot of ant species, the answer is pretty simple. You run. It's pure panic and evacuation. The second army ant scouts are detected, it's a mad scramble. They abandon the nest, grabbing as many of their eggs and larvae as they can carry, and they just flee, hoping they can come back later and pick up the pieces. But then, some species have developed this defense it's just incredible. They've evolved a special caste of worker with these massive, square, armor-plated heads. As soon as the alarm sounds, these blocker ants rush to all the nest entrances and literally use their own heads as living doors, sealing the whole colony inside a fortified bunker until the swarm moves on. So, okay, running and hiding, those make sense. But there is one group of ants that doesn't just run or hide. They stand their ground and fight. And this, my friends, is where we get to the real clash of the titans, the unstoppable army ants versus the immovable leafcutter ants. And this really highlights the huge difference in their whole philosophy, right? On one side, you've got the nomadic raiders, the swarm, relying on sheer numbers. And on the other, you have a fortified, entrenched society that has poured everything into defense, complete with its own specialized class of soldiers. And when I say specialized, I am not kidding. The leafcutter soldiers are absolute giants. We're talking about ants that can weigh 100 times more than a regular worker. Their entire life, their whole reason for existing, is dedicated to one thing: defending the colony to the death. Now, most army ant species give leafcutter colonies a very wide berth. They know better. But there is one species, a nemesis that specializes in this exact kind of fight: Noma merrimax essenbecki. These are the only army ants that we know of that can actually take down a fully mature leafcutter fortress. The second the attack begins, the leafcutters execute this highly organized, almost beautiful defense plan. Their giant soldiers swarm to the front line, which can be meters wide, and they lock onto the army ants, trying to literally slice their heads off. At the same time, smaller workers are darting in from behind, grabbing legs, dismembering the invaders. It's coordinated, multi-layered, and just unbelievably brutal. But the army ants, they have their own devastating response. They just go back to their core strategy: sheer numbers. They swarm the massive leafcutter soldiers, mobbing them, climbing all over them, and stinging them to death. Even the most powerful warrior in the world can't fight off hundreds of attackers at once. And the result is just carnage on a massive scale. Even if the leafcutters manage to fight off the invasion and seal their nest, the cost is catastrophic. The battlefield is just littered with the bodies of thousands from both sides. For the leafcutters, even a victory is a devastating blow that can take them ages to recover from. And you have to remember, this is just one battle on one front. This kind of conflict, this state of total war, isn't an exception for ants. It's the rule. It's a fundamental, unavoidable part of their existence. And this reveals a pretty crucial point. While we humans might strive for peace, for ants, there's no such concept. As one source puts it so perfectly, for ants, though, the other ant will always be the enemy. Conflict is just their natural state. And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. In these incredibly complex societies, you see amazing collaboration and creation happening right alongside constant, vicious warfare. So what does this 100 million-year-old war suggest about the fundamental link between progress and conflict?